farmers. Mountain back to Atlantic Ocean. Upon me hills to folk country. To educate, elevate, and promote. Yeah. Focus on Liberia. For Liberia, Liberia. For Liberia, yeah. From Monday to Sunday. From Monday to Sunday. It's focus on Liberia. Talk about home affairs. Hey. In diaspora. Current affairs. Reliable information. History. Talking about culture. Politics. Education. Entertainment. Business. Sports. Advertisement. Articulation. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. From Monday to Sunday. Focus on.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Roundtable Africa on Focus on Liberia. My name is Dennis Jai, and we are broadcasting from Atlanta, Georgia. In tonight's edition, we're going to be looking at Cameroon. Elections results have been announced in Cameroon, and we're going to talk about that. The elections were held on October 12th, and the 92-year-old Paul Biya has been declared the winner. There's been post-election violence, and we are hearing there are deaths, especially in the Anglophone area around the Douala region. So people are dying. There are citizens who are responding. Things are getting burned and all the nine. Let me play one video for you even before we start. The house of the mayor of Douala on fire.
The other video shown.
All right. We want to welcome all of you. Let me welcome Mr. Jimmy Eastman. Jimmy from the nation's capital, welcome to the show.
Hey, Dennis. We're glad to be here. This isn't directly Liberia, but these things have a way of getting around. So, but a careful examination of the circumstances here may do us good in preparing for Liberia's future.
Right. So let me welcome Mr. Mohammed Sharif. Mr. Sharif, when you talk history, you talk Sharif. He's also the guy for current event and FOL political analyst. Welcome, Mr. Sharif.
Dennis, is great to be here, and I like the sentiment that Jimmy expressed, and that's the reason why we're here to look at this event and its implication for the sub-region, which of course Liberia is a part.
Right, and that's why our topic is the Cameroonian elections and implications for the sub-region, that's sub-Saharan Africa. Most of the time, yes, we talk about Liberia, but there are some parallels that we can draw. What is obtaining in Sierra Leone? Can it happen in Liberia? There are other things that are happening in other parts of Africa that we're going to talk about probably tomorrow or next week, because we want to keep an eye on these things because we're part of the global community. So again, I say welcome, welcome, welcome. If you don't already know, presidential elections took place in Cameroon, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. The 2025 presidential election resulted in the election of President Paul Biya, who at 92 years old is the world's oldest serving head of state. He secured an eighth term with approximately 53.66% of the vote, according to official results announced by the Constitutional Council, with opposition candidate Isaac Chiroma Bakary receiving about 35.19% of the votes. The election, as I told you, was held on October 12th. However, the election was highly controversial and marred by allegations of fraud and violence. Opposition candidates and their supporters accused the ruling party, Cameroon's People's Democratic Movement, RODPC, of rigging the vote. Protests erupted in multiple cities after the announcement of the results, leading to clashes with security forces, and at least 4 people, I'm hearing 10, reported deaths during the unrest. Several opposition leaders were arrested, and demonstration reflected deep public dissatisfaction with the political status quo. Gentlemen, again, let me welcome you. I can't thank you enough for availing yourself to be here. Let's start before we even get to Cameroon. Why is it important that we discuss this today? Jimmy, let me start with you. We're used to the laboratory, but we want to extend it a little bit, and we've been here.
Okay. So one of the greatest challenges facing democracy in Africa today is the persistent manipulation of constitutions by incumbent leaders in an effort to extend their stay in power. So it behooves us to examine this case because we've seen it happen just next door in Cote d'Ivoire. We've seen what happened in Guinea. And the same thing, and also Paul Biya, he manipulated the constitution so that he could remain in power. This is his 8th term since 1982. So there's a pattern here that is not uncommon. We know that they did it in they tried it in Burundi, and there was a whole lot of protests. Even Kagame in Rwanda has done it. We see this thing very common here in Africa. But what does it lead to? You see, what it does, it erodes public trust, and it weakens these institutions, and it can bring about instability and underdevelopment. The Truic Party in Liberia, they dominated the scene so long, so it gave rise to radical movements. Had they been allowing multi-party democracy, Liberia might have never gone to saw what they did, all the civil unrest, all the years of war, simply because they tried to manipulate the Constitution to stay in power. So this is a lesson for us all. What can happen and what does happen when we do not respect the terms of limitations in our Constitution put in there specifically to make leaders accountable to the people and to be able to renew and refresh ideas and leadership every few years.
Thank you. Mohammed, let me come to you. Same question. What are we trying to accomplish here, and what do we want fellow Liberians to learn from this?
It's a great question, and Jimmy, thank you for that. For your eloquence on this. You know, what we're trying to do now is to educate our people. One of our mission here is to educate our people. And what better way to educate people around these political issues, around these issues, you know, these troubling, very troubling issues. So when you look at a Paul Biya, for example, in Cameroon, a 92-year-old man who in next February will be 93 years old, who is claiming an eighth term of office, you know, for another 7 years. When he gets out of there, he will be about 99 or 100 years old. And if he's still alive, then Paul Biya will run again and win again. So in Liberia, we don't want a Paul Biya. The reason why we're doing this is because, you know, it's a cautionary tale. I mean, people, you know, these politicians are copycats. You know, people will look at a BS example, for example. If it worked in Cameroon, why not in Liberia? Why can't it work in you know, in other parts of the region? We've seen now Alassane Ouattara in Cote d'Ivoire, who, you know, is continues to run for office, continues to be elected somehow by hook or crook. He has effectively eliminated all vibrant opposition, people who were supposed to be enormous challenges to him. He has eliminated all these people. So we're trying to set this, you know, set this as an example, set this as a precaution for our people to be careful, you know, so that we don't end up with a lot of Paul Biyas around the region. Paul Biya is very old. He's about 92, as I mentioned earlier, 92 or perhaps 93 years. So heck, he may even be 95 years old at this point. Paul Biya, you know, he's residing in a hospital in Switzerland. He doesn't live in Cameroon anymore. Him and his wife are living in Switzerland. That's the president of a country living in another country, living in a European country. He's living in a hospital because he's sick. He's out of it. He doesn't know what's going on. And during this campaign, and I know we will get there soon, he made one appearance. And this is the man who said the best is yet to come. During that appearance, that one campaign appearance, where you couldn't hardly hear him. He said in French, he said, the best is yet to come. You know, and this is the man who's claiming victory now. And so we don't want a Paul Biya in any part of our region. You know, if the people who are leading our country now are looking at this to say, oh, this is what we can do, don't do this because it's not good for us. We've gone down this lane before.
And the man who is challenging Paul Biya is the man who photo is there, Isaac Chiroma Bakari.
Yes.
So as I was saying, there been violence. You could see, you know, since this happened, it's violent. But let's start from here. Let's walk through the process. How transparent and credible was the electoral process from registration to vote counting and result publication, given allegations of irregularities and the disqualification of major opposition figures? Let me start with you, Mr. Sheriff.
Yes, the process was very flawed. So Issa Chiroma Bakari has served President Biya for a very long time. He's a associate of President Biya. He was Minister of Information, Minister of Interior, something along those lines. And he resigned recently, not too long ago, to challenge Mr. Biya. At this point, Mr. Biya, Elections Commission, handpicked Election Commission, disqualify a lot of candidates who could pose him trouble. So he, for example, Maurice Kamto, a guy called Maurice Kamto, who was a vital opposition leader, was dismissed. I mean, his campaign didn't go anywhere. He was disqualified. And then the rest of the group that were eligible to go through, including Mr. Biya himself, were 12 candidates. Mr. Biya felt that these candidates pose no threat to him at all. You can see Issa Chiroma Bakari is an associate, a very close former associate of President Biya. So they let all these other people go through. And then from what I gather is that In fact, the electoral roll was not known. The voters' roll was not even known until after the election. So after the election, they published. They all of a sudden the election commission said, "Oh yeah, we have the voters' roll. Just in case you didn't know, but we have it." And the way it works in Cameroon, you have ELECAM, which is the elections commission. Then you have the constitutional court that announces the result. So their decision is final, and they're the ones who announce the results today, not ELECAM, which is the election commission. So, according to Isa Chiroma Bakari, the tallies that he had from the different precincts and whatnot put him at an insurmountable margin that Mr. Bia could never overcome. And this is known to everybody. This is known to the few observers that were on the ground. Mr. Bakari's supporters were very jubilant. And at this point, after the election, of course, Mr. Bakari had these results. He announced that he was the winner, and he congratulated his people. He called on Mr. Bia to step down, to concede defeat, in the spirit of national unity, in the spirit of transparency. And Mr. Bia refused to do that. Instead, they unleashed the military, pictures that you show. This protest has been going on for a long time now. Remember, Dennis, the election was held on October 12th. Now we're in 2025, and they just announced it just now. Cameroon, with all these brilliant people, this is a country with all the technological people who are really technologically inclined. And now you mean to tell me that in 2025, an election that was held over 2 weeks ago, the result has just been announced. So basically what Mr. Bia and his supporters do, it is alleged, is that they went ahead and changed the ballot papers. They went and, burned some ballot papers, changed the result in his favor. Those results that came out with him at about 54% and Bakari at 35% is the reverse, according to many members of the opposition Cameroonian community.
Thank you. And talking about the Cameroonian community, let me welcome an educator, Katie Aran. Katie. Welcome, Katie. I'm sorry I'm pronouncing your name not quite.
Yeah, hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Kitty Ayong. Oh, but there's Awanshiri. Kitty Awanshiri. It's nice to join your panel.
Thank you, Katie. If you can switch your phone on sideways like this and put it auto rotate so we can
like this?
Yeah, first you switch it to auto rotate.
Okay.
And then you put it there. We have Katie is from Cameroon, residing here, and she's an educator. So we are honored to have her, be part of the panel so that we can hear directly. I spoke before the show. I spoke with a friend of mine who is a professor at University of Massachusetts. She's also a teacher, a professor. She's an educator, and she said, "Dennis, I'm mourning. The news, the pictures, and the video footages coming from Cameroon, especially the Douala region, they're not looking good. So I can't even talk." But Katie, again, welcome. If you can get it to work, that's fine. We can work.
I don't know. I can't get it. I can't really get it to work. I don't know why I didn't get the app to rotate, and it works all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. If you're using an iPhone or something, if you swipe, you will see.
Yeah, I understand that. I usually do that and I get it, but for some reason I am unable to get it today.
That's fine.
Okay.
We can work with it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we can work with it. And so, Katie, just a little bit about yourself. From Cameroon, which part of Cameroon, and
okay.
your take of what is obtaining in Cameroon.
Yeah, my name is Kitty. I come from the northwest part of Cameroon, the English part of Cameroon. And actually, as you said before, we are actually mourning. I have not slept for 2 nights because I was following this thing Like I've not been sleeping for the past few days because I was on it. So at one point I thought that today, because of the unrest that happened yesterday, I thought the government in power, the dictators, would decide to cancel the elections today, and because of the unrest, and allow people to calm down a little bit, and then before they steal the elections. But the way they do it, it's just so bad. I come from the English part of Cameroon, and we have been in war for the past 7 years. And today they tell us we had the highest votes in the Northwest and the Southwest region, which is not possible. Everybody has deserted the villages. They are now all in town. And they go to those villages. They brought ballot boxes in the villages already filled. And they will tell you that in a village, they have 5,000 voters. In that whole village, you can't see 200 people. You can't even see 10 people on the line to go cast any vote. First of all, we had ghost town all of the week of the election. So nobody was going out. It's so disheartening that we are mourning. This thing, the dictator has been in power for 43 years. For 43 years, Cameroonians are smart, intelligent people. We have all run away from our country. What am I doing in America? Some people cannot even go back home. We have political prisoners in there that have been there for the past 7 years from the Anglophone side. So when they come up and say that they had 53% of the vote, it's just some gross exaggeration that is so unacceptable. Yeah, it's so unacceptable. I feel like just going to Cameroon and go on the street and take a gun. That is the kind of feeling I have. Yeah.
Unless you're muted.
If you don't mind, I'd like to ask you a question, Kitty.
Sure.
Oh, I didn't know I was on mute, but Kitty, I mean, I'm sorry, but that's the same sentiments of my friend Dr. Ami expressed when I spoke to her earlier, that we are mourning. You know, it's what some people were thinking, that, oh, maybe the people of Cameroon just resign from this whole thing. They don't care anymore, because how can you have a 92-year-old man who's been there for over 40 years? It's just incomprehensible.
Yeah.
Jimmy, go ahead. You.
Yes. So here's my question. We look at what has helped maintain him in power. We understand that half the time he's overseas in some Swedish or Swiss hospital or something like that. But we do understand that he has some Israeli embedded with him there that help him maintain power and use intelligence and whatnot to stay in power. What is your take on that?
He has been kept in power by France. All of what is happening in Cameroon is manipulated in France. They don't come up front, but we know that everything that is happening is manipulated by France. So France is keeping him there. Yeah.
So usually when these colonial powers, they're there for some minerals and resources of the country. Mm-hmm. So what are they principally involved in there in Cameroon?
Cameroon has a lot of oil, and they have given this oil to French for basically nothing. They signed a long-term contract, and the French knows that if Biya goes down, they are going to lose all of this. It will be seized from them. So they will not have access to that oil anymore. So that's just it. It's just about resources in Cameroon that have been signed up with France. Yeah.
Wow. And the youth there, I mean, he's been in power for 43
years.
43 years. So he's outlived his generations.
Right.
And now the youth in Cameroon, where are their sentiments? How do they see the politics in Cameroon, because I understand he's the second president you have ever had since independence.
Yeah.
Okay, he's the
Yeah.
second one. So Cameroon hasn't really seen their democracy. So
Yeah.
do we see some radical movements, political movements? We know about the North with their bid to succeed, from the South. But do we see other radical movements in Cameroon?
Presently, what the strategy that the government is using is divide and rule. So there's a lot of tribalism in Cameroon. Remember, Cameroon has like 250 tribes. And then you will hear people say like, oh, this thing belongs to the Northerners. Oh, it belongs to the Bamileke people. Or it belongs to the Anglophones. So they use this strategy to divide us and then they rule us. So yes, the youth are coming up strong now. But if you come to the Anglophone side, they have been adamant for a long time. We have been in war. For the past 7 years, they have not been schooled in the Anglophone side. They have not been schooled in the Anglophone regions. They closed down the schools. Monday has been declared a ghost town day for the past 7 years, and the military was unable to do anything about it. Every day they kill our people, we kill their military. It's been happening. So we are just hoping that in the French side, because now us, the English-speaking side, we said we had our fight. Now we fold our arms and we watch you guys kill each other, because with all this that is happening, it's not happening. There's no crisis in the Anglophone side because we have done our part to take out the man on seat. And they said, no, it was the Anglophones. The Anglophones want to separate the country. The Anglophones want to remove Paul Biya on seat. So now their votes have been stolen. We did not vote in our side, but they claim that we gave him the highest votes, because they sent us out of our villages. They brought in ballot boxes that have been stopped already. So we sit there and we watch them. But yes, the youth are coming up strong. For the past 2 days, what I've seen in Cameroon, I have never seen it in my 50 years of life. They are coming up strong. And I believe the only thing the government wants to do now is to kill Issa Chiroma. So they have placed militaries around his house. They want to kill him. We are scared that in the next 2-3 days, he'll be killed. Right. But if they don't succeed to kill him, the youths are up. Douala is the main it's not the political capital, it's the economic capital of Cameroon. Yeah. It has been shut down. Douala has been shut down. The youths are coming up strong. Most of those youths, they don't have a job. Most of them have degrees, masters, and there's no job. All of them, you see them on the street, there's no job. So they are coming up. Yeah.
Thank you. And for dictators to do this, they must be helped, right, by people in there. Where does Biya's power come from inside the country besides, France?
He has control of the military.
The military, yeah.
Yeah, he has control of the military. Look at the military killing their own people. We hear rumor that there are fractions in the military, but everybody is scared of the unknown because you'll be locked up. The least thing you do, you find yourself in jail. Yeah.
And Cameroon, and Dennis, I thought you were coming in there, but
yeah, sure.
It's very unique because all of this time, all these years later, Biya came in, after Amadou Ahidjo was prime minister back in 1982, when he resigned and turned over power to Paul Biya. So in 1992, multi-party democracy was introduced, But
Mhm.
the Cameroonian democracy has only been in name only because even in 1992, there are reports that Paul Biya lost the election in 1992.
Exactly.
He
Yeah.
has lost every election since then, but he has somehow continued to maintain himself in power for 43 years. He's the oldest, any news event now, the breaking news is the world's oldest president has been re-elected. This is a man who hardly speaks anymore. He hardly works anymore. He doesn't see nothing. He's really out of it.
His
And
senses are not right anymore. He has dementia. Yeah, it's true. They showed a video of him last time. He went to a conference and he was lost. They have to prompt him. Oh, sometimes the wife will take his hands up to greet people. They like, look, you are supposed to greet, and then he will greet. Oh, you are supposed to sit down. They prompt him to do things. The man has dementia. So other people are ruling. It's not even him ruling.
right. And what Katie is talking about, he came to the United States. There was a conference, and other heads of state addressed this conference. And when it was Bia's time to come on stage, so
Yeah.
handlers brought him on stage, and Bia started asking in French, "What are we doing here? Where are we?
Yeah.
What am
So
I
are there
supposed to do?
are there important people inside
Are they
here?
important
Est-ce qu'il y a
people?
les gens importants ici?
Wait, who are these people?" And so he started to ask these kinds of questions, and they had to tell him repeatedly, "No, continue to speak." So his mic went off,
Yeah.
inadvertently, and people were hearing all of these things. And this is a kind of person that's ruling a very important country like Cameroon. I mean,
Yeah.
when you talk about Cameroon, you talk about Roger Mila when we were kids, Roger Mila, right? Now people talk about the soccer stars that come out of Cameroon, but Cameroon is more important than that. As Katie said, this is a very wealthy country. But
Yeah.
under Paul Biya has impoverished this country. All of the money is going to foreign powers, and meanwhile he's in Switzerland. He spent the entire time in Europe and then comes home once in a while. Like, what is this?
So, Mr. Sherry, let's talk about the role of the electoral bodies and the Constitutional Council in ensuring for or undermining the integrity of the election and how, where these disputes managed. Were the approach, like the people say, okay, we contest the election results and you have to, how to manage that?
So the Electoral Council, ELECAM, is responsible for conducting the election in Cameroon, and they will conduct the election. But they also have an overseer, which is the Constitutional Council, the Conseil Constitutionnel, and these are the old guys. These very, very old guys. It looks like they're in their 90s, or they may be in their 200s at this point in time in their lives.
Exactly.
And they are the ones who sit there and announce these results, and they're the ones now who awarded the results to Paul Biya, and their ruling is final. It's final at that point. And that is
the president of the Constitutional Council is Bia's cousin. They are just his relatives. About 3 of them are related to the president.
Let's talk about Katie. Let's talk about opposition unity, right?
Yeah.
Why could they not unite and go against this man?
It's money. It's just money. They were all bribes. They were bought. So they were bought. They just picked some few opposition members and gave them a billion francs each. And the ones that were not bought, and the government saw that they could unite, they said, once you have registered as a presidential candidate, there is no way you have to unite with somebody. You must go in for the election. Yeah, I said, okay, I registered as a presidential candidate, but at one point I said, okay, no, I want my vote to be given to this person. I go in, I ask for it officially. They said, no, they must vote you. So it's just manipulation. It's a sorrowful, it's just so sad. I feel so emotional, like Yeah.
If I may come in there, Katie, even with that, even with that tactics, it didn't work because Issa Chiroma Bakari was able to coalesce a lot of the independents, a lot of the opposition people behind his campaign,
Yeah.
under the umbrella Union for Change.
Union for Change. Yeah.
Union for Change, which was the umbrella opposition group that united a lot of the disaffected Cameroonians, behind him. What they were doing was that Issa Chiroma Bakari will be a transitional president who will,
Yeah.
when after his win, he agreed to this. In fact, that after he wins the election, he will be a transitional president for maybe 4 or 5 years,
Mm-hmm.
at the most, and then transition to, you know, um, a youthful person, a vibrant person, because Cameroon has been ruled, has been in this state for a very long time. So
Yeah.
Issa Chiroma Bakari, who himself is not a spring chicken, he's 79 years old.
79, yeah.
But he's a transitional, he agreed to that. He said, I am a transitional person. I'm in this fight for the people of Cameroon. And that was his goal. And that should still be my appeal to my brothers and sisters Cameroonian is the struggle must continue. Everybody cannot say, we're sad, we're not doing anything, we're going to throw our hands up. The fight must continue. The people must rise up and remove Paul Biya. The people have the right to remove Paul Biya, and he has to go. He really, really has to go by all means necessary.
Yeah.
He has to go.
And Jimmy, also, that's the scary proposition, right? Because we've seen this where we have the strong man who stayed there for so long. We saw that with President Tubman when he left. Even what happened to President Tubman was the spillover effect. We saw that with Houphouët Boigny when he left. There was Africa was in chaos. Sekou Touré, and all. So now we're seeing the same thing in Cameroon. And let's also not forget about Zimbabwe, right? The same thing is happening. I mean, and then in Liberia. So I'm thinking when I look at Paul Biya, I'm thinking, looking at the Liberian example, where because to remove Samuel Doe, we fought war for 14 years. The country is like 1,000 years backwards. We still can't get it right. So is it something to think about that? Leave Paul Biya alone, he's going to die. We don't want to plunge this country into chaos because we don't want to be another Liberia. Is that a thought among Cameroonians? Let me start with you, Kitty.
The reason this is happening, and this election that they are forcing Biya to win is not about Biya ruling, So it's a clique that they want to put in place. So what is out there is that when Biya will swear in a few months later, they are going to transfer power to his son. His son, Frank Biya, is 50 years old. So the plan is to transfer power to his son, and then his son will come up and take another 50 years. Mm-hmm. So this thing about this change is not just about 7 years. It's not about just Biya. We are not fighting Biya. We are fighting the system. We are just fighting the system. We want a change in that system because it's just a particular clique, a particular group of people, a particular clan that are ruling all of Cameroon. We want to unseat them. So if it was just about, okay, let's just give he will eventually die and then the Cameroon will change. Cameroon will not change. Biya will not rule for 7 years. The highest Biya will do is 1 year. And they are planning to change power and give to his son, and then his son takes over with the same group of people, and then they continue with the mafia and rule for another 50 years. So that is why we have the change must happen now. We have to fight. Cameroonians need to fight for this change to happen.
Yeah. It's not going to come lying down.
Yeah.
And what other African countries are doing to help Cameroon? I know it's internal, but normally neighboring countries, one way or the other, get involved or they send support. Maybe they take political dissident forces, if I may, for the lack of a better word, or those who are fleeing persecution. So what collaboration and cooperation is Cameroon getting from other countries, like our superpower Nigeria?
That is what I don't know. Yeah, because we were expecting that some superpower like Nigeria, would have this long boundary with Cameroon, could help, but they are silent. They are just silent.
Yeah, it was mentioned that ECOWAS. You see ECOWAS when the other day when Mali and Niger when they had their coup d'état. ECOWAS was quick to condemn, but they don't say anything when they see incumbent leaders manipulating the Constitution to keep themselves in power.
Yeah.
So right now we're wondering, is ECOWAS any more useful as an organization now with this sort of thing going on in Cameroon? Should not ECOWAS, but Cameroon may not be a member of ECOWAS.
Yeah. So it'll be AU.
It would be AU.
Yeah.
They're in Central Africa.
Yeah.
So they're
So
not.
should not AU make mention of, because it's evident that this is just a gesture to maintain power, but the old man is he's beyond his age now. I mean, he's beyond his usefulness right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what is it? And it's funny that we allowed this in Africa. Just the other day, when in the U.S., when they had President Biden, when they said he was not all there to conduct his affairs, what did they do? They moved him, and they put Camilla there instead to run.
Right.
Why then we are allowing this thing to happen to us again and again and again? Whose interest is it? Are they guarding? Like you alluded to, the French are there, and we noticed that Ivory Coast and Cameroon are one of the very last bastions of French dominance in Africa. So this fight, you say you're fighting, do we see foreign troops and stuff in Cameroon now?
No. Get it going.
I strongly believe that Issa Chiroma has had some backings. I don't think that he is just depending on the population. I don't know for sure, but I know for a fact that Issa Chiroma has been in the government for a long time. And remember, he was in jail at one point because he was part of the people who planned a coup d'etat for Biya. And he was caught and put in jail. So he came out of jail and he was appointed in the government. He has been eating with them on the same table for a long time. So I think that he has some backings that he is counting on. He has not just yet put his cards on the table. And I believe that in a few days coming, he will now start showing us the other or the cards that he has on the table. I don't think it's just depending on the population, that the population will unseat a regime that has been on there for decades.
And therein lies the problem, right? Because at this point in time, if you don't have the population that's willing to really say, for example, the Burkinabe experience, where Blaise Compaoré tried to extend his rule, something along those lines, and the population woke up and occupied parliament, and parliament burned down, that parliamentary building. And, in Madagascar, for example, we saw the population chase out the president. And so if you don't have that with a Paul, because what Paul Biya is going to do, he's a violent dictator. What he's going to do is kill so many people. He might be willing to kill maybe 5,000 to 6,000 people. Are the Cameroonians, ready? Are they willing to sacrifice this much human life? Because there's so many he can kill. And at that point in time, if there's no cessation in this kind of protest, then the dictators usually will pack up and run off. Where you will have now a military, a military dictator, a military ruler will come in, or a military leader will come in, with somebody from the hierarchy, usually like in Gabon situation, they will come in now and act as the savior of the nation. So
Mm-hmm.
this is probably one of the only ways. But you asked about the AU. The AU at this point, to me, this is a toothless bulldog. They are nothing. They do nothing in terms of securing democracy and what have you, because for them it's hands off. What they can do, what they're going to do now is that if the violence continues in this manner, if Paul Biya's power is shaky, then the AU is not going to come in to call for some kind of a coalition government where they're going to say, well, you opposition, please take the prime minister's position, like they did in Zimbabwe, right? Like they do elsewhere. They're really not doing anything that, no enforcement like ECOWAS was before. Even with ECOWAS that you mentioned, since the Niger situation, since the Burkina Faso situation, ECOWAS has been, ECOWAS power, enforcement power has really been damaged by that. And so the AU would not do anything. And don't speak of the United Nations. Nobody is going to do anything, with the exception of the Cameroonian people themselves. This is
Yeah.
on the people of Cameroon. This is on other African sympathizers like ourselves, to stand with our brothers and sisters in Cameroon to say enough is enough.
And I will come to what Cameroonians in the diaspora are doing, but let me welcome Mr. Sekou Keller. He is the host of Roundtable Africa, and also he does his monologue on the Afrocentric perspective. If you can see the Afrocentric perspective, centering the African voice, with Sekou Keller, coming soon. Sekou, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, and good evening to the panelists.
And Sekou is an adherent to African spirituality, so he speaks, eats, talks, and sleeps everything African. Again, Sekou, welcome. Let me, you are, I know because of your schedule, but let me get your fresh perspective of what is happening in Cameroon and what role, I am very particular about what other African nations, African countries, or others with the Afrocentric mindset are doing. Are we just going to sit until if there's chaos and then we send relief, or we condemn coup makers and do all that?
Yeah, thank you for that brilliant question. To see the issue, I think there's so many perspectives to this whole thing going on. There is the geopolitical aspect of it that many people have discussed here, the historical, socio-political aspect of this whole thing. But I would like to look at the cultural aspect of this whole thing going on, what I call the democratic coup d'etat that is happening not just in Cameroon, it's happening in Ivory Coast and other places. Because there are two types of coup on the continent right now, and people look at only the military part that is happening in the Sahel region, but no one is talking about the civilian or so-called democratic coup d'etat, where people violate the constitution, where a civilian just use the word civilian and then they use the rituals called election, but in reality, it's just a monarchy. Somebody just there in power forever and they pass it on to their son or their kinsman or someone from their ethnic group. Is that type of monarchy happening? We saw it in Gabon, where Bongo family thought that they will rule forever. And then they gave it to Wali Bongo. He took it from his father, Omar Bongo. And then the dynasty of the Bongo will continue until there was a palace coup. And then that's the coup everybody talked about, but the coup has been happening since Omar Bongo. What's happening in Cameroon is the same thing. It's a democratic monarchy. So for me, when I look at all of this, I like to address the historical and cultural aspect of it. African people, we have not succeeded in overthrowing our kings before we accepted the institution called democracy. In Europe, what happened when the Europeans had a revolution where they removed their kings? The people decided that they no longer want monarchy. They removed their king. There was a king in France, King Louis XIV. He said, "L'État c'est moi." He said, "The state, I am the state. I can do whatever I want and say whatever I want." And the people say, "You really? Now we'll have to kick you out." So the people rose and they overthrew their king, executed them publicly. And then democracy was bought with a price. That's why they defended in Europe. American got their democracy through revolution. In Africa, it was copy and pasted. So we, the people, do not see ourselves as citizens with rights. We see ourselves as subjects to our leaders who somehow we adore them as kings and we are afraid of them. We dance for them when they come, when they go for medical checkup abroad, when they come back, we dance and beat drums and welcome them like kings. We don't realize that these people are servants. We elected them, they are not kings. So I think the consciousness of our people is what where the problem lies. The culture of democracy is not in Africa yet. We have it on paper. The institution are copied and pasted, but do we, the people, see ourselves as citizens? Did we overthrow our kings and replace them with democratic rulership naturally in our own country? We have not done that. And I think until we do that, until we have a class revolution in Africa, democracy will never work. That's my first submission.
Thank you. And talking about that, I have a breaking news for you here. At 83, Alassane Ouattara wins 4th presidential term in La Côte d'Ivoire.
Wow.
4th term, Kitty.
Wow.
Yeah. Ouattara, 2011, he ran his campaign. He said, "My people are marginalized in the country. They are not being given opportunity." Some truth to that, but that's what he ran, and the institution are not respected. Gbagbo is a dictator. He's been in power for 10 years. He has to go. Okay, now you are there. 1 term, 2 term. When are you going? Well, I want to make a new constitution. And then after the new constitution is done, I will leave. Then the new constitution come into play. He said it's a new republic. A new republic means I am now a new Alassane Ouattara who can now run. They are creating law that don't exist in any jurisprudence around the world. Okay. We are hearing terminology that don't exist. Premier tour de la deuxième république. What does that mean? You call the jurists, they can't even explain it. But why his kinsmen are supporting him? He says our tribal hero. We have to put him there because they don't understand that they are citizens. They don't understand that. They think they are subjects. That's what I'm saying. The class revolution has to happen for Africans to know that they are citizens and not subjects.
That's the voice of the Afrocentric African spirituality, Sekou Kella. Katie, let me ask about Cameroonians in the diaspora. I understand that at some point, Cameroonians in the U.S., for instance, they were, mobilizing, and some of them were sent back to Cameroon to be prosecuted by the dictator. How is it among Cameroonians outside of Cameroon working together to end this nightmare?
Yeah, the truth is that Cameroon is really divided, the Anglophone side and the Francophone side. That is where the problem, first of all, lies. So the Anglophone side, most of the Anglophone, in the diaspora, in America, for example, most of the Cameroonians who are in America are from the English-speaking side of Cameroon. And we believe that we are 2 Cameroons. That is why when we are talking about what is happening in Cameroon now, we from the Anglophone side, we claim that we are talking about our neighboring country, La République de Cameroon, because we consider ourselves not Cameroonians. But we are just fooling ourselves because we are Cameroonians and they are ruling over us. We have their deals and the governors in our towns, in our cities. They fraud the elections. So, I mean, we are divided. So in the Anglophone side, we are in the US now, for example. If we come out, the population will be great, but the Anglophones will not come out because they look at it like this thing doesn't really concern us. It's our neighbors, the La République de Cameroon. So that is why you see For example, here in the US, it didn't really work out. The march didn't really work out because the Anglophones look at it like it's not their business. We had marched, we had gone out, we have tried to this government to look at the way they treat Anglophones in Cameroon.
Mm.
It's horrible. It's a different story. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Different story indeed. Mr. Sharif, what can you tell us about, mobilizing? Because take for instance, when a lot of African countries were going through the liberation struggle, Liberia was the place that they went, right? If they were persecuting there, that's why Liberia was the Lone Star, the beacon of hope for all free people. Is there any country now that is trying to play that role in Africa?
Oh man, that's a great question. Like, like Liberia was a beacon, a bastion of, people, just coming in, from Southern Africa. Guinea also, don't forget, Sekou Touré admitted a lot of refugees from Southern Africa, giving them citizenship and all
I
of
went to school with the Kufors, and because from Ghana.
Yeah. So a lot of these people during that time, you had leaders like that, leaders like Kwame Nkrumah, William V.S. Tuckman, for example, leaders like Sekou Touré. Don't forget Modibo Keita of Mali. Those guys were very conscious, of African liberation. You have leaders now who are really bootlickers of the Western status quo. They are very busy trying to curry favors with the West than their own African brothers and sisters. They see themselves as different countries. Whereas, leaders like Modibo Keita of Mali, Sekou Touré, and those guys, Kwame Nkrumah, those guys saw that, Africa must unite. We are all one country. So they had this vision of a one Africa, whereas other leaders didn't see that. And the ones that didn't see us as the ones that wanted to go progressively, you have a lot of their adherents now than the former. So what you have now are leaders who are very, self-centered about themselves, just their own, geographic boundaries. So they don't care what goes on in Cameroon. What if at least 3 African leaders spoke out against the fraud that Paul Biya is? What if Paul Biya was sanctioned by ECOWAS? If ECOWAS says, Mr. Biya, you're not even visiting our country no more. You're not part of ECOWAS, but you're not visiting our country. What if his neighbors have said something? What if Nigeria came up and said something to Paul Biya? What if Chad, maybe, which is ruled by another dictator? What if any of these countries have said something to him? That would have made an impact. But right now, the silence is deafening. And meanwhile, you have leaders, like, Alassane Ouattara, who's extending his rule perpetually. And meanwhile, you have the young guys coming up. What do you think? They're looking at these old guys extending their rules to die. Because, look, Paul Biya is going to, the only way he goes down is in a body bag, okay? He's not going to go down like this. He's not going to go down in an election. He will be in a coffin, taking out of the presidential palace. That's the only way he goes down. And other young guys are looking at this. They're like, okay, if he did it and he lived for 100 years and he had 8 terms, and I'm 35, 40 years old, then I can do the same. So this is a very bad example for the youthful African leaders that are currently on, continent. There are a lot of, there are some guys now, like the president of Gabon. He's young. He can stay there for another 30, 40 years. There are young guys now, is what I'm saying, that probably will copy this example if Paul Biya gets away with this. If he does not get away with this time, there will be a recalculation in the minds of those who are attempting to do this. To your question directly, Dennis, it's very few. Nobody now, no African country. I have monitored the news since this event occurred. No African country has spoken in favor of the opposition. None of them. And they're all now going to now turn around and congratulate Paul Biya for his historic 8-term win. A dying man, a man who is really dying. He doesn't know where he's at. I don't know who even gave him the news to begin with. Okay, because he doesn't follow the news anymore. He doesn't know anything anymore. Just his wife. His wife is the one who speaks for him. His wife is the one who's literally babysitting him. So what is going on? Why do we need such a person, as president? It's laughable. It's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. Like, everybody knows for a fact that Paul Biya did not win this election. Like, all the leaders know. Everybody knows. There is nothing to say that Sachiroma maybe Cameroonians voted for Paul Biya. We all know that Biya was not voted for. So why is nobody saying anything? Why can the president even of the United States, why can world leaders not say anything? And people are dying in Cameroon. As we speak, at least 10 people have died between yesterday and today. At least 10 young people. The other people who joined him in his coalition for change, three of the main guys are in jail right as we speak. Nobody is saying anything. Like, is that how this world should be?
Exactly. This is why I was
Jimmy. Let me add to that. Why nobody is saying anything? I think it was Mo Ibrahim who said, or somebody who said Africa is the only continent where you see the young people are behind, the old, right? So even with Paul Biya, you will see young people, dancing for him. Like or Ouattara, people are in their 80s, their 90s, and yet you see young people in their 20s and even teens jubilating for these kind of people. Jimmy.
Yeah. I mean, there's
the new word for it now is gerontocracy.
Ruled by old people. You know what? This is what I was saying, that in Africa, it's as if people's consciences shut down purposely, because we know this is wrong. We know that this man is incapable of ruling, but whose interest is it serving to keep him there, and the country suffers, And should it be that we should get involved in when our neighboring country is being manipulated, because it has a spillover effect. Somebody was pointed out just today that we buy textiles from South America, millions and billions and billions of dollar textiles. But right in Lesotho, they make textiles. Why are we not buying from each other? It is the same two neighbors sitting by each other. They say they won't meld in each other's business. They rather go overseas and buy. We looking at ourselves the wrong way. These artificial borders that they have put around, these borders were put by colonists whose intent was to divide us. So we have to start looking at ourselves. If you're doing something in Ivory Coast, it might as well be doing it in Liberia, because those people, affects me eventually. And we need to start looking at ourselves like that if we're going to change this narrative of what's going on around us. We see this thing is quite widespread. Look at Uganda. Museveni, how many times has he manipulated his constitution to stay in power? We notice that they do this. So we have to find a way to stop these African leaders from manipulating the constitution to stay in power. And we all need to coalesce around that. We need to get together and prohibit it, no matter who is doing it. Not, oh, it's in another country. I got nothing to do with it. That doesn't work. This will not work.
And Sekou, talking about gerontocracy, we have Paul Biya of Cameroon, or 92 years old, been president since 1982. Alassane Ouattara, 83 years old, been president of Cote d'Ivoire since 2010. Kyodo Equatorial Guinea is 83 years old, been president since 1979. And of course, Yoweri Museveni, 81 years old, been president since 1986. Joseph Newman Boakai, 80 years old, been president since 2024. I'm looking at presidents that are old. Denis Sassou Nguesso, they used to call me that because that's my first name. So they used to call me that when I was a kid. 81 years old. He's been president since 1997, and so on. Sekou, why do we have this phenomenon? Why is gerontocracy taking place in Africa?
Well, first of all, I gave you the cultural, historical reason why I think the people of Africa are now rising up to put the right people in place. The reason why they are not motivated to stage a revolution, because the institutions are alien to us. They were copy and paste. It did not go through a natural process where we actually understood it and fought for it. It was just copy and pasted. So now it's just there. Whatever they tell us, they can twist and turn the constitution and say that's how it works. As long as there's election, it is democracy. And then they can get people to back it up. So now I want to tell you the geopolitical aspect. Because in geopolitics, if you look at Europe, for example, they operate with values. In the European Union, before you can become a member of the European Union, there are certain criteria. You have to be a democracy. You have to have free market. There are certain rules they lay down. Your human rights records. All of that, they consider it before they admit you into the EU. If you violate some of those rules, you are expelled from EU. That's how they keep themselves in checks and they keep their value system. Now, if you look at the African continent, ECOWAS or all of these blocks they have, including the African Union, since the death of Kwame Nkrumah and the founding fathers of African independence, who have values, system, and vision for the continent. These other people we have, these placeholders, I don't know whether they are placeholders or they are just there until Africa can revive. They are just there for the time being. These people have no values. Some of them that you just mentioned, they were put there by external powers. Some of them came to power in a very dubious means. Good example, Alassane Ouattara. We all know how Ouattara came to power. It was not democratic. France literally bombarded the building of Gbagbo, removing, handcuffing, and put Ouattara in the office. After the Constitutional Court, which is the Supreme Court of the country, said the Gbagbo won the election, the highest court in the land. Whether you like it or not, it's manipulated, okay. But the highest court in the land says Gbagbo won. France said, nope, we don't want to put Ouattara. So now if Ouattara stay in power perpetually, you don't need to check where that is coming from. That's a geopolitical play. It's a foreign power that is imposing this person on you to do their work. It is not a natural process. Paul Biya is protected in Cameroon by France. Anybody who does, Paul Biya doesn't even know, he can't geolocate himself. You ask him, Paul Biya, are you in Cameroon or you are in space? I don't think he can tell you where he is.
Yeah.
But he continues to rule from outer space, wherever. So wherever he thinks he's ruling from the spiritual world, some people say the man is already dead, he's ruling from the afterlife. So Paul Biya is ruling out from the afterlife because there is a cabal in the country controlled by France that is ruling Cameroon. We are not trying to push the blames, but geopolitically, we got to be clear here that there is neo-colonialism going on, keeping people in power who they know they can slow down Africa's progress. Why is it that any African leader who is outspoken, vocal about African development quickly you see Europeans talk about dictator. We got to get the person out. Look at how long after Ibrahim Traore, them being in power in the Sahel, but they sanctioned them. Drastic measures were taken, embargo. But Paul Biya has been there before some of our parents got wedded and then they decided to give birth to us. But no embargo, no sanction, nothing. Free flow. That's because they are doing their bidding. Ouattara is doing the good job that Paris wants. The other guy is doing the good job. Sassou Nguesso is doing a good job for them. But as soon as they become pro-Africa or pan-Africa and become Africa conscious, all of a sudden you will see European Union start writing laws against them. So that's where you need to understand there's a geopolitical aspect of this battle. So election alone will not get this. The European Union know the election is fraudulent. They know that that's not a free or fair election.
They know.
They know, but they don't care because the person is doing their job. But I bet you, if any of them is anti-Western imperialist, that election will be scrutinized by European Union. You will see sanctions raining down like snow. So this is where you need to know there's a geopolitical aspect behind this. Africa is being, as we all know, all of the institutions, IMF, World Bank, United Nations, they were all created after World War II by European imperialists to be able to control global trade, to control political institutions. And one of their goals is to make sure that Africa does not industrialize. Because the industrialization of Africa will mean the death of industry in the Western world. Because that's where the raw materials are coming from. The raw material need to flow. In order for the raw material to flow, you need to make sure that industrialization does not happen. How do you do that? You put brain dead people in power. People who are brain dead, when they are in power, you continue to keep the country as you want it to be. And you use tribal division, okay, or regional division. We are Francophone and Anglophone. Okay, who make you Anglophone? Who make you Francophone? You are just Africans.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is the issue. The consciousness of the people or the culture is one thing, then the geopolitics is at play. That's what I wanted to say.
Thank you. I see that Katie agreed with you a lot. I want to hear her thoughts.
Yeah, I really do agree because the Western power are keeping him in place. And I used to just wonder, why can a new African Union not emerge? Why can some people not just come up with this union and then they start putting a check on these African leaders rather than depending on the AU that is not doing anything?
Yeah. Even if a group can come up and form something, some economic something, but nothing like that. But Katie,
Your African Union is being financed by EU.
Yeah,
just
EU.
know.
So given Paul Biya's age and extended tenure, if we can call it that, what are the implications of his continuing rule for political renewal? Is there any bright spot for Paul Biya to stay on?
No, there's no bright spot. Cameroon there's no bright spot. It'll be chaos. From now on, it'll be chaos. They'll be burning one place to the other, destroying people, will be dying. It'll be chaos. I don't think that this thing will just end like that. I'm hopeful that change will come. This is the time for Cameroon. I am very hopeful that change will come. And the diaspora people are contributing money in Europe. I see people mobilizing, and today in Belgium, there was a big crowd at the Cameroon embassy in Belgium, in France. So I see people mobilizing in the diaspora. The youths are really mobilizing. They are putting in money. So I believe that this is the time for Cameroon. It will calm down for a little bit in a few days, but it will erupt again. This is the time.
And then is the thing that our brothers and sisters in Cameroon can also do is to, this is not just a Cameroon thing. This is, all Africans, Africans of like minds will be able to support our brothers and sisters in Cameroon. I was on I was in a social media space in a meeting with the Cameroon opposition, and I liked the meeting. Was thousands in that meeting, and they were very determined
Yeah.
to depose, Mr. Biya. I mean, I'm not from Cameroon. I've never been to, Cameroon, but I'm in solidarity with my brothers and sisters from Cameroon because, at the end of the day, if Cameroon falls because of dictator Paul Biya, it's on all of Africa, and it has a long-term implication for the stability of the Central African region and the sub-region as well, because what affects one country affects everybody. I mean, we saw that during the Liberian crisis, where our crisis reached all the way to Burkina Faso, to Cote d'Ivoire, to Guinea, to all these different countries that were not even connected to Liberia. So, this is the way I look at this.
And so Cameroon is huge country. It's huge.
Cameroon is very large. It's a very important country. It's wealthy. I mean, the Cameroonians are very nice people. When you go to the, Cameroonian establishment here in Pennsylvania, these people are very nice. I mean, the Anglophone people that I talk to, they're very, very nice people. They're kind people. And so, we are all disheartened for Cameroon as this, dictator continued to hold, this 93-year-old man continued to hold 30 million people hostage. How is this possible? Why is it that, a 93-year-old frail old man who is already dying is able to hold 30 million people hostage? That's my point. And my thing is, I don't care if you have a Western background, but if I put 2 million people in the streets of Yaoundé, in Douala, Bafoussam, of course, Bafoussam have nobody now because they've killed everybody in the Anglophone region, or people have fled from the Anglophone region. But if you put enough people in the streets of Yaoundé to occupy parliament, to occupy the presidential palace, Paul Biya has to leave. Paul Biya is going to flee. That's the thing that dictators know. That's the language that dictators know. Paul Biya is going to go out in a body bag. And I told that community at the time, he's not going to go down in an election. He's already seen it 8 times before. He has nothing to fear right now because he has the military hierarchy on his side, most of whom are his people from his home region.
If you are just joining us, this is Focus on Liberia Roundtable Africa. If you want to be part of the conversation, please call 605-313-6004. The code is 791-403#. That's the number to call and take part. We want to hear from you. We want to see other African countries discussing this and being in solidarity with this great country of Cameroon. Our hearts go out to the people that are under siege as a result of this dictatorship, barbarism, and all that. I want to ask a question here. I don't know. I don't think Sam Waller is going to like it. What parallels can be drawn between Cameroon's re-election of Paul Biya, who is 92, and Liberia's continued leadership under President Joseph Newman Boakai, who himself is 80 years old, especially regarding, again, that word, gerontocracy, youth representation, and the prospect for political renewal in societies where this majority of the population is under 35. Jimmy, you take that first.
Yeah, so we mentioned earlier that what this does is it actually undermines your democracy. It makes people, they lose faith in your democracy. They will tend to not vote with their hearts anymore. It gives rise also to corruption, and people start thinking of more radical ways of taking power. this is what leads to it. I told you, Liberia is a perfect example what these things could lead. When they undermined the democracy in Liberia so much, even though it wasn't even fair as it was, because many people are locked out of voting. You couldn't vote unless you owned land. Bringing that cause from the antebellum South. So after they've done all of that, then they wouldn't change power. There was no democracy. So Liberia was headed for, whether we realized it or not at the time, but we should have known Liberia was headed for a unrest, civil unrest, a breakdown, because after a while, this is what happens. The people will rebel. So if what we see going on in Ivory Coast, it could lead to a rebellion. What we see going on in Cameroon today, well, it can easily lead to a rebellion, which will set the country back, which will lose lives, which will lose lives. So we need to act now before these things happen, and before it sets us back.
I told you Sam was not going to like my question. Okay, Paul. So, let's say President Bouakai running again. Let's say he's running. At that time, he will be what, 86 or 85, right? So if he wins 85 plus another 6 years, that means he'll be 90. He'll be at Paul Biya's age. So I'm that's the kind of parallel I'm trying to draw here.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jimmy.
Yeah. So,
and your thoughts
with the difference in Liberia right now, if we're talking about the current, this administration is a very young administration led by a very old candidate. So the leader,
Liberia, that
he very possibly, if you talk about his cognitive abilities, like Bia.
Yeah.
But what we need to examine is the system, because this thing has become almost systematic. Are we developing a system that will give rise to a Paul Biya in Liberia now? Are we putting it? Are we building those?
But Sam is saying, since he's constitutionally eligible, it's not like Paul Biya. But the element he's leaving out is the age. He's not going to be able to function properly at 90 years old. Let me just complete your thought and then Mohammed.
So one consideration we can make: should we have a limitation of how old somebody should be?
We have it for our Chief Justice, but we don't have it for any other office.
Yeah, so that is a consideration we can make. So go ahead.
Sigu.
Yes.
Let's draw some parallels between Cameroon and Liberia.
Right. I think it's a journalist from India, Palki Sharma. If you know her very well, she said Paul Biya is older than atomic bomb, older than the computer, older than internet, space travel, and he has unfinished project in Cameroon when he's even older than the internet. So the issue here, for me personally, my personal philosophy, the age is not the issue. Really where the question is that when people want to rule, we have to know their mental states to be able to declare that the leader, anyone who wants to hold political office, their health have to be public, their mental health have to be public, because you can be young and have mentally unfit to be president. You can be older and you can be mentally fit to be president. But when you look at Paul Biya, he's not mentally fit to be president. Okay, it's the first time I saw his whether that was the inauguration going on or that whatever going on, the judge have to read the speech, and all Paul Biya have to say is that I do swear. That's it. But the rest of it, somebody else have to read it. So for me, if someone is not mentally fit, we saw what happened in America. Joe Biden, when his own party discovered that he went on a debate They saw the debate or his performance was very poor. They say, oh man, you got to step down. If your political system is not mature enough where the party can look at their candidate and say, you are not fit, please step down, then you don't have a democracy. Because for me in Liberia, we have personality cult. Nobody tells George Weah you are not fit. You will be fired. No one can tell Joseph Boakai Pape, you are sounding incoherent. I think you got to go. I don't think we have that type of the political system in Africa. But where we got to get to, we the people, is that whoever want to represent, or we got to test whether they are physically and mentally fit to lead. It's very important.
Thank you. Katie, I want to hear your thoughts, right? Because the current Liberian president is, that's his first term. It's 8 years. Presidential term, we have 6 years. So by the time he goes for second term, at the end of his second term, he will be at Bia's age, right? But there is always this thing that people of his party, they believe that, okay, this is the person we have. If we go with him, he will win. So, and for us to keep our jobs and keep our money and keep everything we have to use this man, even though he may be tired, he may be old. And so what parallels can you draw? Do you think it's not the case with Liberia when you compare that to Cameroon?
No, yeah, actually, I think that every country should have a time frame for somebody to be president. Their mental health should be checked. Every country must have a time frame. Like we all go on retirement. In Cameroon, we go on retirement at 60. In America, there's a retirement age. Why is it that for presidency, they cannot put a retirement age at 75, for example? Why would an 80-year-old man be standing in to be a president of a country? I don't think that is all right. Seriously, I don't think it is all right. I think that somebody at 75 years should rest.
Yeah.
80 at most. Somebody shouldn't be at 80 years and be standing in for a presidential candidate. I think us as Africans, us as youth, that is what we should fight for. Nobody at 80 years should stand to be a president. 75 years at most. So I think that, to put an 80-year-old man as president, how is his mental state? Is he okay? Those things should be checked.
Yeah. And sometimes the youth and the rest of the people, they are the person pushing the 80-year-old to be president because their own job is tied with that person.
Yeah.
And it happened to you, even though the former president is not 80, he's relatively younger, but it's the same. It's like, if our party has this man at the top, we're going to win. If he's not there, we're not going to win. So no matter whether he's competent or not, whether he's fit or unfit, let him be there so that we can win. And then whatever happens, happens.
That's why presidents should be cautioned to mentor other people in their same group, in their circle. They should mentor other people, not necessarily their relatives, like what is happening in Cameroon. They should mentor other people in the group. If it's a political party, bring up some other people and start mentoring them so that by the time you're getting to that age, it will be the same system, but different younger people with with younger ideas,
And like I said, if I would chip in quickly, they think he's a king ordained by God. Again, I continue to say the cultural aspect is there. People think he's a king ordained by God. If they begin to understand that he's just a citizen, they will remove him.
Mr. Sharif, in Honor President Sully, we had a term limit for the Chief Justice. I mean, what drove that? And we can think about the same thing for the president.
I don't know. I don't know. I do know that, when you talk about Liberia now, it's a different case where Liberian presidents, at least, I can speak for, since the end of the war, have not done anything significantly different with the Constitution in order to keep themselves. They've not, I know they're not the ones who changed the rules, they changed the laws or whatnot, but they can campaign for certain things. They can campaign for term limit. They can campaign to reduce the Liberian presidential term of office that we talked about last night. But the Liberian presidents have never been able to do that, because why should they? It's more beneficial to them to stay there for a longer period of time. And when you were talking about older presidents, you forgot the new president of Malawi who just got elected. Peter Mutharika is 85 years old, and he was democratically elected, just, a few weeks ago. So your question is really something, profound, that, what is going on here? Like, these old guys are coming from, are coming almost like coming from the grave now.
And the Togolese president is what, 86 or so?
Togolese president? No, he's still young. He's a young man. His father.
No, not Togo. Namibia.
Okay. I don't know how old he is. But yeah, with regards to of all of these people, of all of these leaders, Paul Biya is just the worst in Africa at this point in time.
Exactly.
He is just the worst.
More than Museveni?
More than Museveni. Yes, Museveni
is the worst.
Museveni has been able to make some developments. You understand? He has made some development. Paul Biya has done nothing for
nothing.
Okay. And he has divided the country. Look, Dennis, when they were announcing that election results, something that I pick up from the council, the Constitutional Council, they were announcing this in French. But you also have the Anglophone part of Cameroon. So now they've discounted all these people, a large segment of the population that, how is it that someone cannot use our diversity to unite us? The Anglophone section of Cameroon is still part of Cameroon. So why are they not even, making some announcement in English? All these guys, a lot of them are speaking French, right? Which again, I understand this is a European language, and why not they should have an indigenous language. I understand all of that dynamics. But at this point in time, you should officially have two, European languages. If you have French, which is predominant, you should also have English for the Anglophones. So, and they're not doing that. Paul Biya has been very divisive. Paul Biya has been very brutal to the Anglophone side of Cameroon. He has put down a lot of rebellion. And one of the things that's going on that is not even talked about is the Boko Haram, insurgency in the north, which, if Cameroon, if something happens, these guys can have a foothold, in the north, or some crazy things can happen. So, to not allow the voices of the Cameroonian people, to not allow the votes of the Cameroonian people, to be determined by themselves, but by a constitutional council, is very, very dangerous. It's very, very dangerous for Cameroon.
Let me bring you a caller here, and here the problem. Sam Wallace say age is not the issue. How can you? So Sam, if somebody is 100 years old, can they? But anyway. Let me bring you a caller. Call your name and where you calling from.
Yes, hi. My name is Emmanuel October, calling from Texas.
Go ahead, Emmanuel. Thanks for calling.
Yeah. I have a quick question, though.
Sure.
Before my comment, I'll get a comment. I think what is happening in Cameroon, don't you think it is because of our African tradition where we have to respect the elderly? Do we really think that the election was rigged? Do we know for a fact that it was rigged, or we assume it because of our Western orientation? The election was rigged because the guy is old. We not also question the elderly people. You got a 93-year-old man in the race. I think the people of Cameroon, especially the people that voted, those people are really traditional, very traditional, I think. So before we start to say this is election rigging or the election was fraudulent, based on our Western landscape, because the guy is old. But in the context of Africa, in the African tradition, do we really think that what happened? I think that's some of the things that it's not bothering to me. But
do you think that
try to go beyond the number?
Do you think that the violent clashes since the election could be like a sign that something is not right?
Well, I mean, it's election. The guy is old. He's from different regions. He's been ruling for several years. People want change, but there are others who want him.
Okay.
Okay, so there will be. I mean, I said to see that. So I have this guy who is a colleague at work, so Cameroonian, and he was telling me something like this, and I was kind of shocked. I mean, I asked him a question based on our elderly and African traditional thing. I was thinking he was going to condemn this election in Cameroon, but this guy was having it from a different perspective. I was shocked. That's why.
No, that's very important, because the same thing Sam Waller is saying here. Hey, the thing is not about age. So for every president, being a dictator or not, it will always be people.
Right.
So before you go, you say you have comments, and then you can.
No, I mean, I was just trying to put that.
Okay.
Just talk with your questions out there.
Okay.
Just looking at history from that context.
Right. Thank you.
We see, elections from us on this side. We should look at. I mean, how was Africa being governed before this democracy and other things were coming about in Africa? So,
thank you.
People in some cases, people are deeply traditional.
Thank you.
Check the other bit.
Yeah. Thank you. And that's what Tadman used. That's why he stays so long. Katie, let me get your take on the caller there. He said, well, maybe there's no election rigging. Maybe he won because people in Africa respect elders, and they always want to stick with tradition.
There is no way. Like, I am a Cameroonian, and I know for a fact that the people who want Paul Biya in Cameroon, population in general, cannot be 10%. That is a fact. We are Cameroonians. We deal with Cameroon. We listen with people in the street. I am from the English part of Cameroon, but I grew all my life in the French part of Cameroon. That is where I lived. That is where I grew up. That is where I worked as a civil servant with the Cameroon government. I know for a fact Paul Biya doesn't have 10% of the population that wants him. There is nothing like that. Paul Biya did not win this election. He did not win this election. It was rigged. And that is why you see that population on the street. The Cameroonians are determined. What I saw yesterday on the street, I've never seen that before. And I think that it is not going to end like that. They will try to kill a few people. People will be scared. They're running. But I strongly believe they are going into re-strategize. And the change will come. There will be a change in Cameroon.
I hope so.
Thank you. I want us to wrap up, but let's talk about solution. Where do we go from here? Because we're talking about implications, in the rest of sub-Saharan Africa. So, what happened next? What can we say going to happen in Cameroon, and how do we solve this issue? I mean, we have Paul Biya, who is bedridden. People say even where he is, he's not able to tell us where he is.
Yeah.
So let's talk solutions.
The thing is, they are going to kill people, yes. But I think that one of the things that should start happening, people should speak out. Like you guys are speaking out now. People should talk about it. Everywhere they should talk about Cameroon. People should influence their own leadership to talk about this thing, to denounce this and call for a peaceful transition of the government. I think that that's where we can start talking. It's just about people. We cannot march to Cameroon. I cannot go to Cameroon now to take a gun, but we have to talk about it. We have to sensitize people. We have to make this thing known. You never know. You are talking to the next person. You don't know where that will lead to. I remember I had a conference last year in Chicago, and I was sitting in a panel, and during break, I just turned to an American lady and I explained to her a little bit of what is happening in Cameroon. That lady cried the whole time. Each time she sees me, she starts weeping. And she couldn't imagine that things like that are still happening. I told her about the problem we're having in Cameroon and how Cameroonians walk in the desert for months to come to America. Because of the war that we have in the Anglophone side. She has never heard about that before.
Yeah.
In Africa, Cameroon is one of the highest country where immigrants walk on foot to come to America.
Wow.
Yes. So she heard that for the first time. So what I'm trying to say is, as a solution to this problem, we start bringing solution. Let us talk about this thing. Let us denounce it. Let us talk to people. You never know where this information will get to. You guys are up there, justice program. So many people must have heard about it. There are people who didn't know. Let us talk about it, denounce it. Maybe it will get to leaders, people and having power will hear, and they start talking about it publicly in major television stations and all of that. So it's just sensitizing people of the killing that the dictators are doing in Cameroon.
Sekou?
Yes. I would
Cultural
first of all,
orientation?
huh?
Cultural orientation?
Yeah, I would like to deal with the question first very quickly because I have 3 more minutes even for myself. I have to go. But the question the person asked, whether the culture play an aspect to this. Yeah, we will not deny this. Like I said in the beginning, there's a cultural aspect to what is happening in Africa. I don't think he won the election, but I also think one of the reasons he's still there, African, we have this belief that the elders are always right and the elders are wise and the elders know better. It is to some extent true, but it's very wrong in a secular democratic system. It's not always true because when you use scientific solution to solve problem, then elders are not always right. The evidence is always right. Because like for me, my culture, for example, my dad would tell me, Seku itese jola ikoloma. He will say, for example, you can never be right against your elder brother. No matter what happened between I and my elder brother, we go to the family to this. Even if I'm right, they will say, yeah, you got to apologize because the elder is always right. For them, it's not about the evidence or the fact. It is about the norm, the tradition. So even in marriages, the wife is never right. So there are issues like that. So we got to look at that aspect. Many Africans believe that elders are right and they know what they are doing, they know better. But we got to come to a scientific area in this generation to know that evidence-based solution is better. An elder can be wrong, an elder can be sick, an elder can be mentally unfit. You see, these are things you got to consider. Elder can have some problems. And then we got to remove him and put people who are healthy. You can't make an elder your general in the army to sit on a horse to lead the army. You know that he can fight. So if that you know that's true, it's also true for mental capacity. Sometimes they don't know how to run things anymore. We got to put them to the back seat. I think that's what the Gen Z of this generation is asking. So for me, solution, the young people need to understand that the politicians are using false solution they are giving. I mean, it's false debates that they bring in our political system. You are from this ethnic group, that's why they are fighting you. It's a false debate. Religion is a false debate. Regionalism, oh, he's from that region, we should not elect him. It's a false debate. The real thing is the rich versus the poor. The rich people have no religion. They all meet in the same club. They eat the same food. They are happy together. They don't have tribe when they come to that richness. All of them are rich. They don't discuss tribe when they meet. They discuss their billions. They discuss their assets. So we, the poor people, we are the ones discussing tribe and religion and region because that's what they gave us to be occupied with. So we need young Gen Z to understand that it's a false debate. Let's focus on the class debate. Can we dethrone these sphinx, these people that have been there forever, remove them and replace them with young people who are intelligent, who understand the issue and are willing to give us the solution? That's the solution.
I hope it doesn't turn to Animal Farm, but that's another debate. Let me bring in, we have two more callers here quickly. Callers, we are way out of time now. We are wrapping up. But let me bring in Darling Warwood. Darling, you are live. Go ahead quickly.
Good. So quickly, I would say that having listened to the entire debate tonight, the lean poor beer has dominated the conversation. But the question that people, I've heard a few of the panelists talk about the outside forces. Who is responsible for what is unfolding in Cameroon? The French. We can put it squarely at the feet of the French. The colonial master France has not left. They never left Cote d'Ivoire. They held Ofoe there until he died. Even he was president while he was even there 7 to 8 months later. They held Yasima of Togo, Omar Bongo of Gabon, William B. Escom of Liberia, the president, the American held him there until he died. And now we are talking about Paul Biya. Paul Biya is not the problem. We have to be very pragmatic here. The problem is France. So in terms of solution quickly, I would say that the people of Cameroon should look up to, they should probably beg the Burkinabé, the Nigerian, and the Malian to come to their head, to kick the French out of their country. As long as the French remain in Cameroon, there will be nothing good that will come out of Cameroon until the French are kicked out. Thank you.
Thank you. Joe Moyo, your turn. You'll be the last caller.
Yes, sir, and I'll be very quick. Let me just piggyback off what the previous gentleman said, because I think this goes beyond the fact that, we got this old man that wants to cling on to power. The French Cameroonians, because I know a lot of Cameroonians, the French and English side, and they can't seem to agree on one thing, So I'm maybe the lady from Cameroon can answer this.
Kitty.
Or are the Cameroonians, are the French Cameroonian in support of Biya maintaining his position as president, or they're going with this rigged election? Or are they already fed up and saying, no, this is too much? Because I noticed that the French Cameroonians, those that speak French, they're very, I don't know how to put it, but they're sympathetic towards Biya. Yeah, they all the way with Biya. They all the way with Biya. I couldn't get them. Like I had a French, a French Cameroonian lady friend, and she was, she glorified Biya. Only fun joke she had was his wife. The younger, biracial woman he had, but they're on board with Biya. They don't see anything wrong with him. So is that as the script flipped? Are they also with the English? Even Samuel Ito is with Paul Biya. There you go.
Yeah.
And I don't understand it. I mean, these people are talking about they're in their 40s, 50s, and they, the French speaking, and they were Biya.
Right.
I don't get it.
According to Kitty, he said not even 10% with Biya in the country. But,
Yeah.
but thank you, Joe. All right. Kelly, before I go to Mohammed, he's saying, it looked like the French side for Biya and the Anglophone side against Biya.
No. Did you see the population that came out yesterday? Did you watch anything about what was happening in Cameroon? All of that population, the Anglophone side is not in there.
Correct.
All of that is the Francophone side. The Anglophone side are not out now because we believe that is not our country. So the fight is theirs. In the Francophone part of Cameroon, I mean the whole Francophone part, Paul Biya do not have more than 10% supporters. You could see a handful that are eating from the government, yes, a few of them, but just very few. Eto Fils is supporting the government. He has his reasons. He might have been bought. It is just normal. Dictators, they pick a few popular idols, people that, and they try to bring them to their side. It doesn't mean that Paul Biya has 50% of supporters of Cameroon. It is a lie. It doesn't. He doesn't have 10%. I know for a fact.
Right.
I'm a Cameroonian. We are Anglophones, but we are still Cameroonians.
Right. Even Eto could be, those are politicians, those are celebrities. So
those are celebrities.
Always bring them on their side.
Yeah, those are celebrities.
Yeah.
So we can't say truly in Eto's heart he's supporting that Paul Biya, the 93-year-old man who doesn't even know whether he's in France as we speak or he's in Bomeka should rule Cameroon.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Mohammed, we're talking solutions now. What do we do?
Yeah, so the callers that are saying that this is generational Paul Biya, insinuating that Biya won, it's wrong. He massively lost this election. He was defeated. Look, there was a
And Mohammed Fix Electronic Eto is the president of the Football Association of Cameroon. So of course, if he's up there, what do you expect?
right. So
Go ahead.
the renowned Cameroonian journalist Marie Roger Belois was saying that, even people in the government, the ruling government of Paul Biya, voted for the opposition candidate Issa Chiroma. So this is how fragmented Biya's support is now. He has no support. What Biya has, he has the security forces, the army particularly, very brutal army that can clamp down. This is what he's hanging on now. And that is his saving grace. And if you minus the army from Biya, he will fall today. He will fall tomorrow morning. But that is how he has managed to hang on. And so, what is the solution to all this? It conscientize people. Sekou lay out some long-term plan. But in the meantime, what do we need to do? What needs to happen in Cameroon, as I've said previously, is consistent protests. I've seen a few of them say, one of them said on social media somewhere, "I'm glad I'm not a Cameroonian anymore. Oh, this is despicable. I can't stand this no more." No, it's not time for that. Right now, it's time to add voices. It's time to add fuel to the opposition, flame to the fire, if you will, the opposition protests. And the opposition must wake up. Everybody who is not even in Cameroon must support that opposition internally. And the fight also have to take an external dimension where there must be daily protests, not just Cameroonians, but other Africans as well who sympathize with our Cameroonian brothers and sisters to dethrone this dictatorship. Because this is a shame for Africa. It's not just a black eye for Cameroon. My God, this is a shame for Africa. The oldest dictator that on in the world now is Paul Biya, and we find that man in Cameroon who's never won elections from 1992 to now. He's never won any election, but he has managed to hang on. And people want to talk about, this is about culture and why not. No, what it is about, what the culture of this is theft. The culture is robbery. He's being able to rob the Cameroonian people of their votes and what have you. So the issue is, why haven't the Cameroonians been able to remove him from power? I think that is a fundamental question. Why is a country of 30 million people not able to depose a dying old man who doesn't even know where he's at? That is the question. That is the question.
He doesn't even know if he was re-elected today. He doesn't know.
Right.
Jimmy, what's your solution?
I told you we
don't say I'm struggle.
We're being defeated by our division, and so the first thing to attack is to have unison. We if we see something going on in Ivory Coast, in Liberia, we need to get involved. Because what happens right to my next neighbor affects me. Then after you seek out unity in ideas and thought and action, then you start putting together the principles that you believe in, and you come together around those principles, and you try to perpetuate them in everything you do. It should be about idea. It shouldn't be about somebody way somebody looks, the tribe, but the way somebody thinks, the way what the person believes in, and what the person supports. That's what's supposed to be the unifying factor. So, and if you go like that, it will take care of everything else. You wouldn't have corruption. You wouldn't have people being overlooked. You wouldn't have neglect to schools and neglect to hospitals. It'll take. So what we have to do is to be our brother's keeper, and we understand ourselves in that way. What goes on in Gabon can have an effect in Cote d'Ivoire, or even as far as Ethiopia. So that's what we need to do.
Thank you so much. And Kitty, again, I want to thank you for joining us.
You're
First
welcome.
first time on Focus on Liberia. On behalf of all of us, I want to offer you this bottle of water. It's, our hearts and minds are as clear as this water. So if I were not on the cup, I'll pour libation. But again, thank you for coming.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let me get your parting comments, and then we'll close the broadcast for tonight. Anything you want to say in closing? Kitty?
Oh,
Yeah.
well, I just hope, I'm very hopeful that what is happening in Cameroon, change should come, but so many people should not be killed. That's my hope.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Again, thank you all for coming. I want to thank our viewers for coming. Always watch Focus on Liberia, where we strive to educate, elevate, and promote all things Liberia. Until then, we're going to close with our song that says, "We are all Liberians." Have a good night, and God bless you. We'll keep in touch, Kitty.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good night. Take care.
We are Liberians. Liberia is our home. Liberian people. Liberia.